First second is posthumous flame, but doesn't mean so. Like, so the link to the video will be the description below. Go and check them out. So let's into this select in 3, 2, 1.
Death is all around us. Everywhere you go, people are dying. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it's just one of those
Really
difficult
crazy,
things
man.
about life that many people can't get over.
Yeah.
Me? I've accepted it. It's coming for me one way or another, unless I figure something out soon. The thing about death is, occasionally, rarely, we're remembered after we die. Abstract concept, I know, but let me explain. Throughout our life, we build up accomplishments, achievements, and relationships. And when we die, those things don't go away. Now, eventually, do those things fade away? Yeah, but at least they don't immediately. You get a good week or two in there. Of course, there are some exceptions. Famous people really have a way of sticking around after their time is up. That's right, these famous people stay famous after they're dead. I call it, this is a term I've coined, posthumous fame. Usually, posthumous fame is for a good reason. Unless you're infamous, infamous doesn't count. But posthumous fame means you really had something worth sticking around. There are two posthumously
like come on post,
famous people that I want to talk about today. But I'll get to that in a second. What I want to say first is if you're famous throughout your life and you create something so good that people still think about it after you die, that's impressive. Kudos. I'm sure you're familiar with the idea that there's only one of you. Yeah, like ever, okay? There's only one of you, which means when you die, no one else gets to be you, if that makes sense. You are your accomplishments, and once you're gone, those accomplishments stay, no one else can take credit for them. Which I think is pretty interesting in the context of posthumous fame. It's a great term that I coined. But in this context, it's quite interesting. I don't know a better way to say it. Because there's still, some of these people are still mega famous, even to the extent that they were when they were alive. Which does make sense, because why would you suddenly stop celebrating someone's creations once they're dead? So I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's odd. It's odd. Get it? Because I stood up when I said it. Okay, the two people I wanted to talk about today are Steve Irwin and Robin Williams. Two absolutely beloved people who tragically died. I quite literally have never heard a bad thing be said about either of these people. Honestly, these are two deaths that are really painful to think about. But I do think it's important to talk about. Because how amazing is it that these two people lived their lives and they're still, to this day, affecting people through the things that they made. And I'll start by talking about Steve Irwin first, because I feel like I know less about him, and I know a little bit more about Robin Williams. But Steve Irwin was this larger-than-life type of guy that was clearly just so passionate about what he was doing. So passionate, in fact, that it spread to the people around him and the millions of people that watched him on TV. Steve Irwin tragically died when I was just barely born, so I never really knew anything about him while he was alive. But he so clearly affected so many different people in such a overwhelmingly positive way. And it's really amazing to see. But one thing that I think is really interesting is that since Steve Irwin died the way he did by a stingray, people hate stingrays. People hate an entire species of animal. And I will say in my own life, stingrays scare me, and it's because of that incident. It is really amazing to see people still care about him so much. People still absolutely adore the guy, which is awesome. Now, the second person I want to talk about is Robin Williams. Robin Williams tragically died around 10 years ago, and he is an actor that just did it all. Plays, comedies, dramas, voice acting, everything. And a lot of those are really famous pieces of media. Just to list off a few, he was in and many, many more. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen enough to love the guy. And so many more people do. I have seen it so many times that so many people have such a personal relationship with him. I talked about parasocial relationships in an older video. That holds up with this. And this proves my point from that video that parasocial relationships aren't always bad. But a parasocial, which means one-sided relationship with Robin Williams, is very different than a parasocial relationship with, I don't know, someone else. I can't really think of anyone. Me. Take me for example. I am never gonna get to the level of having as much of an impact as Robin Williams did. And I'm okay with that. Steve Irwin and Robin Williams made so many different people care. Just care about stuff. They didn't have to be about acting like Robin Williams or being around animals like Steve Irwin, but they both had such a passion in such a way of making people feel important that it lives on after they die. To the point that they're just as famous now. And I mean, I was very young when Robin Williams died, and I wasn't conscious when Steve Irwin died. But it looks to me as if they're just as famous, or I'll use the word important, as they were back then. That's all I wanted to talk about today. The concept of posthumous fame. What a great term, coined by me. Trademark. Copyright. And it is kind of upsetting to talk about two people's deaths, especially when they were so loved. But I think it's because they're so loved that it's important to keep talking about them. And I also try to keep it as lighthearted as possible because it is a touchy subject. Hopefully I did a good job and I didn't leave everyone that watched this super depressed. You know who is depressed though? This little plant over here. I gotta go water him, and by water him, I mean feed him some blood. Maybe a dentist or two.
Wow, that was posthumous fame. But that's I mean so yeah. Like come on boards. You know what I mean? That's I mean all over from more on. You know. Wow. The link to the video will be the description below. Go and check them out and drop a like if you like. And comment below if you want to see more reaction like this one. And subscribe if you're new and click the post so you can be notified when I upload and when I post and go live. And I'm out. Bye. Wow.